And we're live. Welcome everybody. My name is LauraJHall and you are on the Come Cook With Me show. Today, and I'd love to see some thumbs up because I forgot to check to make sure that I had on Universal. So if anyone is watching, go ahead and let me know. Checking to make sure I have it on. Okay, yes, people are watching. I had it on, this is a long story, doesn't matter. So we are coming to you live from Daphne, Alabama. It's so great to see you all. I have had some technical difficulties at getting the show ready to go. So we have a limited camera. I'm using my phone, my old school way of doing this show, which is kind of nice. It's nice to be able to do something fun like this. But for the life of me, for the last hour, have been struggling with my Mevo camera. It wasn't working, so we're just not going to go with it. But it's worth the wait because today we are giving you the recipe for barbecue sauce. I want to know how many of you, it's kind of fun to see the real live comments, by the way. Hey, say hello, who you are, where you're from. We are live, and in our community we love to do that. So raise your hand, give me some love if you love to have people over for barbecue. Or maybe you just love barbecue sauce, or it's just one of your favorite spring, summer, I don't know, you could do barbecue all year long as far as I'm concerned. Well, I have been making my own barbecue sauce for, I don't even know how many years. At least from scratch, well, let's qualify it from that. From scratch, I've been doing it for about 20 years. So this recipe is, I've modified it today. So the last time we did this show, all I did was I cooked it in. And yes, Deb, I remember when you asked me, you posted that on the comment, that was the first show that you saw. So I made it in the big tub, big slow cooker here. In fact, I need to stir this. But I made it in the big tub. So those of you who saw that recipe, who actually wrote that recipe down, because back then I didn't actually type all the recipes out. I don't know why I didn't. But today we are making it in the pressure cooker, and this one's going to be made in the one that we're going to cook in front of you with the recipe is going to be in the MEALTHY pot, but I have already done one of them and I'm going to show it to you at the end of the show. It's done, it's prepared, it was done exactly the way I'm going to show you how we did it here, and you are going to love this recipe. There's a lot of ingredients in it and some of them may be too spicy. In our family, we love to have a little heat and we love to have some sweetness, so I think you'll be really impressed with what we have going on here. I will try to do my best because the Mevo camera is usually up higher and you can see everything, so you don't get to see everything right now, so I'm going to just kind of get you started and show it. We'll just take it a little bit slower. I think we're ready to go. Okay, so what you want to do is get your pot, whether you're doing a slow cooker or whether you're going to be doing, and if you look, you can't see it, but I actually was going to try to do this in my traditional all-clad slow cooker, but it started getting ginormous. So I was like, okay, I need to taper this recipe down for a normal size people, and normal size if you're just going to be cooking it one time. But when we make our barbecue sauce, we love to make a whole bunch of it because we freeze it and we take it out for the meals that we need it for. It freezes beautifully. It's just one of those wonderful things to do. So if you do want to make a whole bunch, I can give you the extra quantities. But we're going to go ahead. I have the quantities in the recipe that are just specifically for a smaller batch. So kids, if you are watching, this is your time to write this recipe. Well, you don't have to write it down because it's written in the comments, or it's in the post. But go ahead and get your pot. You want to get it onto saute. So let's go ahead and get that ready to go. All right, so I'm going to hit saute, and it's going to get started. So let me start off with, I took a pan. Sorry to leave the camera. That's all my viewing space. So I took a pan like this, and we did some roasting of some vegetables. So I wanted to show it to you. We put down a ton of garlic cloves, so in the recipe we call for 20. If you like more garlic, you can certainly add more. If you like less garlic, absolutely feel free to add less. But we put garlic down, and then we put all the peppers that are listed, not the sweet peppers, but all of the hot peppers that are listed in the recipe. So we have poblano, we have habanero. If you're from Florida, you're gonna get a couple of datil peppers. Makes this sauce really amazing. But if you don't have datil pepper, because that's like I think it's a South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. But if you don't have one of those and you have a really hot pepper, like a ghost pepper, something really hot, just do a little bit, like if it's a ghost pepper, you don't want to do too much of it because it's going to be really hot. But you want to put your peppers then on top of the garlic, and then you're going to put I think I called for 1/3 cup of robust olive oil. I'll go ahead and set this aside. And I use this one. I use this extra virgin, non-GMO, robust virgin olive oil, and it's organic. I love this one because it's robust and it has a really great flavor. So you're going to put that on the top, and then you're going to roast that in the oven at 325, and keep an eye on it because you don't want to get it too roasted. You want to have those peppers start to sweat and get a little soft, and then that means your garlic's not going to be too well done either, right? I mean, not well done, but it's going to be a little more tough, and that's what you want. You don't want it to be over cooked. So this is what it's going to look like when you do that. You're going to chop all of those peppers up, and inside here also I have not only just the garlic and the peppers, the hot peppers, but underneath I have 2 small onions, and I also have a half of a yellow, red, green, and orange bell pepper. And you don't have to roast those. Those are just going to be fresh and chopped. This is already heating up. So I have some of the olive oil that was roasted, so I'm going to start with that first. This is so full of flavor from cooking of those peppers, so don't get rid of that. That's one of the things that you're going to want to keep. All right, very hot, and I'll try to talk over the heat of that. I know I want to add in at least half a cup more olive oil, and this is going to get really hot and loud, so hang tight, people. And we're just going to put all of those vegetables that were roasted, and the onions and the peppers. We're going to put all of that in, and we're going to let this saute. If you could already smell the flavors that come out of those peppers, it's just amazing. I absolutely love it. So while this is sauteing, we're going to go ahead and add in our spices that we use. Yeah, you would think that the peppers alone are enough spices. I love seeing all the love. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. There is a benefit from coming live this way, the old-fashioned way, versus having the Mevo camera. And I appreciate all of you who are so patient today. And I know so many of you are I'm reaching over, and I really don't need to reach that far over. Hopefully you can still see. There we go. I've had so many conversations with all of you who are getting slammed with this weather. It's just crazy. So I'm really sorry about that. And I feel guilty because it's been so warm here. And it's really warm in the house because I had the windows and the doors open from outside. So I've got some basil leaves. I've got about 10 basil leaves in there. I'm just going to put those in. Again, remember, if you're brand new to the show, what we love to say is hello, who we are, where we're from. It's just our community way of just being a part of a great community. We are on, I believe I have 16 more shows until we hit 100. So we've been doing this 2 years. We're on our 3rd year because I'm seeing posts from 2 years ago, right? Crazy. It's crazy to believe that we've been doing this as long as we have. And oh, by the way, I should say thank you so much for those of you who gave grace. I was gone out of town 2 weeks ago, and then last week my son was in town with his friends, and we were just entertaining, and our week just got behind us, and I never had a chance to even post a show, let alone praying that my son would actually come on and cook with me. All right, so let's go ahead and add some spices. I'm going to show you one of the we do want to do them in order. So horseradish is one of the spices we want to add. So in the recipe, I call for about 1/4 cup. So I'm going to put that in. And I love fresh ground horseradish. So this is a mixture of, we're going to see a lot of mustard, and we're going to see some tomato products. This is the base of our as well as some vinegar. So anyway, horseradish mustard is what you want to do. Now you want to get some liquid smoke. I love to do liquid smoke, even though we roasted some of these vegetables and they're going to be great roasted. We love to add about 1/4 cup of liquid smoke. I do have a little 1/4 cup guy here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just love how liquid smoke turns everything, turns just beautiful flavoring. And then we have some wonderful Tabasco, that's the sriracha. How many of you just absolutely love this on everything? I love it on everything. It's just so good. Like this, and there's a couple other sauces that I just really love. So you're going to use 1/4 cup of the sriracha as well. And let's say you can't find the Tabasco that has the sriracha, no worries. There's actually a spice out there that is just flavoring sriracha. So, all right, now I'm going to stir this around so it continues to cook down a little bit. These vegetables, want to get these to al dente. Cooking them down is about half the amount that you'll cook them down. You'll get them to opaque for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and add in our spices. So we have, the first one we're going to show you is the Japanese 7 spice, and it doesn't matter in any order which one you want to do. But one of the things that I want to focus on is non-GMO. So non-GMO, those are the label right there. I hope you can see it. Non-GMO, that means genetically modified organism. So you want to get non-GMO. So you don't want to put genetic modification in your body. Just pure and simple. So you're going to want to add Japanese 7 spice. Now you're not going to see me measure the way that I have measurements in the recipe, because we like it a little more spicy. So I already know how this one turned out, and I needed to add a little spice when it's finished. So I'm adding a little more in. So then we have next is a cayenne pepper. Again, all of our spices are organic. So yummy. All right, now I have 1/2 of a jar of cumin, and if I had any more cumin, I would be adding it. This is all I have left from all of the containers. So I'm going to add in that whole container, whole jar. Well, it was 1/2 jar actually. Okay, this one's the MEALTHY pot, and boy does it get hot when it's sauteed. So you might have to keep an eye on it just so it doesn't get just overly. But the MEALTHY just, I don't know, that saute feature is so huge on it. Okay, next one is an ancho chili. I love ancho chili in this barbecue sauce. You're gonna love ancho chili. It may become one of your new favorite chili spices. Oh, I just think I'm gonna add just a smidge more. I know, it's gonna be good. All right, the next 2 things we're gonna do is a paprika. I have 2 paprikas, and I know when we did the Come Shop With Me, I showed you 1, and it was because they only had the 1 in the store. But I knew at home I had a smoked paprika, so I have smoked. So I'm gonna add in a smoked paprika. Whew. Okay. And then we have a hot Hungarian paprika. Ooh, that one came out good. But paprika is great in your, paprika is one of those you want to have. Okay, this is getting super quickly cooking, which is exactly what you want. It's perfect. I think I can turn the saute feature off because it's really hot. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an organic chili powder. Oh, and we have some oregano. Oh, and I know I put one over here because I was testing to make sure I had it positioned the right way. Italian herbs. It was just a Italian herb seasoning. So it's a mixture. Even if you have herbe de Provence, that's fine too. I have both of those and I'll tend to use one over the other. I just felt for this one, the Italian was going to be better. But I also added in the oregano. So the last two peppers we're adding in, love this one, chipotle pepper. It's just a crushed chipotle pepper, so delicious. Really gives more of that smoky, there we go. Sorry about that. I know it can be loud. I do have a wooden spoon. I had one person call in and say, you know, if you use a wooden spoon, it's not so loud. And then we have some regular crushed peppers, so. But those chipotle peppers, man, oh, they just add such a great flavor. All right, now we have some secret ingredients coming up. All right, this is cooking so well. It's sauteed beautifully. So here's some secret ingredients that many people probably don't put into their barbecue sauce. I'm going to use half of this jar of chow chow. And so you're probably saying, what's chow chow? In fact, I'd love to hear, if any of you know what chow chow is, please go ahead and put it in the comments. And if you don't know what it is, and you just want to know and say, Laura, just tell us, I'll do that. It's just a relish, but it's a really good relish. Chow chow is really great on, if you're barbecuing some sausages, you're barbecuing hot dogs, or even Italian beefs, it's really good on. Oh, now it's kind of quiet. All right, the next two things that we're going to be adding are two different kinds of mustard. Now, I like a spice brown, and then I have a honey Dijon. So you can choose, again, let's pick organic whenever possible. And that's what I have done. So I know, because this is at the end of the container, I need to hit it against the bottom, just so it doesn't splatter up. And yeah, I know, someone's probably going to say, why are you wearing white? Well, if you knew my afternoon of trying to get this thing going, the Mevo, it was crazy, just crazy. You have to laugh when technology doesn't go your way. You just have to kind of laugh at it, right? It's just comical. It couldn't have been more comical. And that's just the way you have to look at it, right? All right. Oh, that is just smelling so darn good. The whole house, I had to go pick Brad up and help him take his car in. And he walked in, he's like, oh my God, because this guy has been cooking for at least 6 hours now. And he was just like, the house smells amazing. It's perfect timing. We were on our very last barbecue sauce that we had frozen. So you know that's a good thing when you find it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the tomato products. So what we have here is we have whole peeled tomatoes. And I'm going to dump the rest of this can. This is, I split it between these two pots. So we have whole peeled tomatoes. And I want to show you something. When you buy a canned good, if you're buying canned good, obviously organic, no GMO, right there, same thing. But then there's this other label, and I talk about this all the time, and it's right there. Focus in on it. Non-PBA. So PBA is bisphenol A, okay? It's a liner that they will put into cans so that they can keep a longer shelf life. Well, guess what? It's an endocrine disruptor for our bodies, and we don't want to have bisphenol A in our bodies. So you really want to look, I mean, if you can avoid can altogether, that's great. But right now, there's not many options other than having super fresh, something that you might have stored in the refrigerator, in your freezer, or canned, maybe you canned. But look for non-PBA lining. That's your tip. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is the other half of this can of diced tomatoes. And so just throw those in. And one thing I did about these diced tomatoes, these are roasted, they're fire roasted. So I picked the fire roasted kind. Fire roasted. All right, and then we have crushed tomatoes. That's going to be the last can that we're putting in there. And again, it's a half a can. Perfect. And I have the perfect ingredient amount listed in this recipe just for these pots. So it is absolutely perfect recipe. I'm gonna say so myself. I would love to see pictures when you make this recipe, and I would love to see your barbecue pictures. I'm not kidding. I love it when people send me the pictures that they've done, you know, oh Laura, we made this recipe, it turned out great. And then if you made a modification, I love to see the modifications. All right, the next thing we're adding is tomato paste, because when this cooks up, you're gonna want a thickening agent, and your paste is gonna be your best friend. And what I'm gonna do, there's just a little bit more in the bottom of this can, and I'm gonna save it so that when it's finished, I'll have it to add in case it's just not quite the consistency. And that's the biggest thing of barbecue sauce. Sometimes people like a real thin. I was talking to some gals that I work out with this week and telling them what we were cooking, and one of my friends, her name's Lori, by the way, she says, well, my daddy makes a really good barbecue, and we love his barbecue, and it's pretty thin. And I said, well, that's good, because you can figure out ways that you can do it thin, or you can do it thicker. All right, so what we're gonna add next is a balsamic vinegar. And I'm gonna add about half of this. It's about, let's see, this is a 16 ounce, 16.9. So I wanna add in about 8 ounces of vinegar. And one of the things, vinegar just does so many wonderful things for this recipe, but one of the best things is when you take out, you gotta keep an eye on it, when you take this out of the freezer, let's say you freeze it. When you take it out of the freezer, what's great is as long as you keep it in the refrigerator, it stays for a very long time in your refrigerator, which is wonderful. I mean, who doesn't love to have a barbecue sauce that you can pull out of the freezer and then let it stay in the refrigerator? Now, some of you are probably gonna say, well, how long can I keep it in the refrigerator? We've kept ours in until, gosh, even a month, for sure. So, you know, you'll always keep an eye on it, because if your vegetables don't always cook down, but the vinegar really kind of locks everything into place and gives it a longer shelf life in the refrigerator. I'm going to add just about a 1/4 cup more. And you'll get used to making this recipe, and you'll say, ooh, I know exactly how it should look and the color, etc. Okay, perfect. We have 2 more ingredients left in this recipe, and that's it, and then we're going to hit the go button. And the next one is, it's the sweetener. So if you're vegan and vegetarian, honey may not be your thing, and if that's okay, go ahead and get maple syrup. If you're gonna do that, you're gonna wanna get more paste for sure, because the maple syrup is a lot more liquid. But this is a honey, and we're gonna use half of this honey in this recipe. And I love to use honey. I don't like to use sugar. A lot of people like to put brown sugar in their sauces. I'm not a big fan. I like to use whatever we can use naturally. And maple syrup, obviously, is my go-to. I mean, those of you who follow me, you know maple syrup is my go-to. But for a sauce, you kind of want to have a little stick to it, right? And the honey kind of gives that extra special stick. It smells amazing in here. I just wish you could all smell it. I'm so thankful for all of you tuning in, and I love your feedback. Oh, yeah, and the consistency, the color is looking mighty fine. I'm just gonna tap it here just to get as much out of there that we can. All right, we have 1 ingredient left. And this is an optional ingredient, because some of you don't like to cook with alcohol, and some of you do. So, if you looked at the title of this particular recipe, it was called a Bourbon BBQ Sauce. But when I started making this recipe, we hadn't yet even moved to Kentucky. So I really didn't know much about bourbon until we moved to Kentucky. And then, then it started becoming a bourbon barbecue sauce. But I will show you, this one here is actually made with rum. And so if you tend to have a couple of pots, and you do a couple of different pots, when you store it, design something that says, well, you can write on your container, of course, but design, because if you couldn't read what was written on the container, we did round for rum, but then don't confuse it for anything else. Round container for rum, or rectangle for rum. So you gotta just know which one you did. Anyway, so this one is, we used a rum. And then the one we're making today, in front of your eyes, it's going to be done with a bourbon. And like I said, bourbon has become our favorite go-to sauce. So you're going to use 1.5 cups And I'm going to make sure I can fit 1.5 cups in here. Yeah, I'm going to be able to fit 1.5 cups. And this is going to give it just that extra oomph. All right, it's ready to get started. So you're going to set your pot to manual. Okay, definitely perfect. So it's gonna probably need to have a little more paste. I can just tell by the consistency that it is right now for us. But we'll see what happens when we cook it down, or when it cooks. And this is just wonderful because when you open the pot and you look at the consistency, you'll know you can just go ahead and add right away any additional paste that you need just to give it that thickness that you want. Okay, so I'm going to get the top to the lid, and we're going to put it on. Make sure it's in the closed. You have your vent closed. Lock it into place, and you're going to set your timer. You're going to set your timer. You can do 15 to 20 minutes. If you don't like to see, and this is how I judge it, if you don't want to see any of the vegetables at all, you really want them cooked into the sauce, then do 20 minutes. If that doesn't matter to you and you like to have a little bit of that when you're brushing it onto the meat that you're cooking or whatever it is you're preparing for your barbecue, that might be something that you keep at 15 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. Is I'm going to set mine for pressure cook, and I'm going to turn that down to 15 minutes. And you can naturally release it, or if you're in a hurry, go ahead and quick release. It's really okay. You want to cool it down all the way before you put it into your containers, and that's just saying that it's ready to go and it's kicking in. But you want to let it cool down before you put it in your containers, and definitely before you put it into that freezer. So let me show you what this one looks like. That pot is way too hot and too heavy to handle, so I'm not picking it up, but you'll see the pictures. I have a lot of pictures. Oh my gosh, wait until you see this sauce. This is so incredibly beautiful. So beautiful. So, I'm going to stir it around here. Oh. It smells so good. And I'm going to try to pick it up. I have my pot holders here so you can actually see it. I'm just going to do that. But I can probably, here, yeah, I'll do it this way. So you can see how nice and thick sauce is, and how I have, so, oh, and the whole tomatoes, these are prizes. So there's a whole tomato right there. You can see it. That's kind of like the prize. People fight over those tomatoes when we're at a cookout. I know, I'm the one that knows the benefit of them, but I have a couple of girlfriends who've kind of said, I see you have that, and so I have to share it. Anyway, you can see the vegetables right there. Outstanding. So yummy. Okay, people, that is my recipe. I'm so thankful for you. I am glad to be back in the kitchen with you. We have some fantastic recipes coming up. Next week we'll be doing some pre-Easter something. I haven't decided exactly because I thought I had 2 weeks before Easter and I don't. So isn't it funny how life just wishes by and you're like, all of a sudden we're in the middle of April. How is that possible? I don't even know. So what I want to say to everybody is I want to share with you a ton of love. Have an incredibly wonderful weekend coming up. If you are in that terrible weather, please stay safe, stay indoors. Think about spring is on its way. This is the last hurrah, hopefully. And with love to all of you, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week on Thursday. Hopefully I'll have this Mevo camera worked out, and if not, we're just going to continue to do it this way, and we'll just have a ton of fun with it. All right, everybody, have a wonderful time. Thanks for joining the show. Don't forget to hit that share button, share the wealth, share this beautiful recipe with other friends and family members, and we'll see you next week.